Hello, and welcome to Sideways. This week, we're talking about the regret we feel at not acting sooner to make things better, and how we might be able to focus on a different part of the story that's more positive. Martin struggles with pronunciation, and we discuss the merits of 90s avant-garde rock music. Missed opportunities.
Hello.
Good morning.
Why have you got a smirk on your face?
I haven't really.
Hey, you've shaved your beard off.
I have, yeah. That's what I was sort of smirking for, to see whether you'd noticed.
Yeah. What's wrong with your razor though? Because you've left a little bit of stubble there.
Yeah, I've just left a hint to a beard.
So you obviously didn't do it with a wet shave then. I
didn't know. No, it's just used a number 4 and then a number 2.
You are a number 2.
I thought I'd better shave it off after someone shouting "cat weasel" at me in the street. I was a bit upset.
I'd say that was probably at the more positive end of what people could have shouted at you.
Yeah, I took it as a compliment, to be honest. Yeah,
you should do. I like cat weasel. Actually, whenever I've had a beard, I've always thought one of the most joyful things about having a beard is shaving it off, wet shaving it off. It's really lovely. So you've kind of denied yourself that pleasure.
Well, I got pretty close, but it just got itchy, to be honest, and I didn't want it anymore.
Right, well, that's that cleared up then.
It is, thank you, yes.
Right, let's get on with it then, because obviously time is of the essence.
Well, yeah, I know, yeah, which is unusual. We're doing this in a morning one, on the morning of Friday the 13th, so I hope nothing goes wrong.
Oh, yeah. Have we done one in the morning before?
I don't think we have, no.
That's interesting.
But yeah, it is. But being a lockdown one, it's and Friday the 13th in 2020. You know, what can possibly go wrong?
Yeah, quite. Do you know? Here's an interesting fact that isn't very interesting. I flew for the first time on Friday the 13th. How about that?
Did you? And you survived. So let's put that myth to bed, isn't it?
I did. I was flying to Corfu with Adam.
Oh, right, okay, yeah. It was unlucky for Greece, the pair of you going over there, to be honest.
Anyway, never mind that. What do you want to talk about?
Anyway, well, I was sort of inspired to sort of get a few notes together, really, by you sent me a picture. And I know it's quite rare for me to be inspired by anything you do, but you sent me a picture of a goal net strung up between 2 trees. You remember that?
Oh yeah. Yeah, I couldn't believe that.
I know. I think you took it. I'm sure didn't I walk by it with you at one point during the first lockdown?
Yeah, just a little tiny bit of background here. When we were kids, the thing that you most wanted was to go up the park and for the nets to be in the goals, right?
Yeah.
Because then obviously when you scored a screamer, you didn't have to go 100 yards to retrieve the ball. And when we were walking, we went out for a walk, didn't we, in the first lockdown, and we were walking through the estate and some kids had hooked up this big goal net between 2 trees, and there was no one playing in the goal, was there? And that was quite a surprise. And then I walked past it recently, and not only was the goal net still there, but there was a ball sitting there effectively on the penalty spot with nobody around.
I know, yeah. And that struck me as a sort of a metaphor for missed opportunities, because, I mean, you and I as kids, we'd been for hours on end, wouldn't we, sort of perfecting out like a curled shot into the top corner, like a Roberto Carlos free kick. You know?
Exactly. Yeah, that would definitely, when I was a kid, that would have been a missed opportunity.
Yeah. But it made me think about the missed opportunities that we all lament sometimes, and, you know, specifically for me with regards to my drift into addiction.
Yeah.
I think, you know, almost without exception, that everyone that comes into recovery wishes that they'd done it earlier. But it's the nature of the condition. I think we seem to endlessly procrastinate about doing anything about it, and by deluding ourselves that nothing's wrong. But yeah, I haven't met anyone that's come in and has said, well, you know, I could have left this another 10 years and I'd still be okay.
No, it's interesting because I was just thinking there, that makes me think about how frequently I work with people, and not necessarily addicts, and they get to the point where they've asked for help or support with something, and they want to kind of get on the road to recovery, and then and this is something else we've spoken about before, they become very impatient. They want to see results really, really quickly.
Yeah.
Quite often because they look at how much time they feel they've wasted not getting help. And I always say to people, listen, nobody changes until they're ready to. So it's, you can say to yourself, I wish I'd come into recovery 10 years ago or 15 years ago, whatever, but you weren't ready to. So that was the thing that prevented you doing so,
Yeah, it was. But I think that although it is a very common theme, would you give advice? I mean, because it seems to come across, and it was for me almost like a regret that we didn't do it earlier, because we've, for me, I wasted sort of, a decade messing around when I knew I had a problem and didn't do anything about it. I mean, when you have missed opportunities like that or regrets, how do we put those behind us? What would you recommend? Is there a sort of a way forward there where we can stop letting that affect our choices going forward?
Yeah, I think there is, and I think the thing that, and again, this is one of those things that I appreciate is easier to say than it is to do. But I think that situation requires a reframe. So instead of, and what I mean by that is, instead of looking at, taking the example you've just given, instead of looking at the 10 years you feel like you wasted and focusing on that part of it, we have to reframe it and focus on the part where we decided to do something about it. So you can look at the 10 years that you feel like you wasted, and that will never give you anything other than discomfort and regret. Or you can focus on the day when you stood with your foot on the pedal bin, finishing your last bottle of vodka before you went into rehab, and you see that as the start of a new life. Now, if you focus on that part, then what you're really doing is you're reminding yourself that you got to the point where you decided to make a change, where you took responsibility for yourself. So if you look at your life from that point forwards, you don't have any regret, do you?
No, I don't.
Right. So arguably, there's nothing really to stop you looking from that point forwards, as opposed to looking from that point backwards. So you can look at any situation where you felt emotionally damaged or bruised, or you feel like you've made mistakes, or you feel like you've been a failure. But if you look at the part of the story at which you started to emerge and rebuild yourself, then you don't have to sit with the regret, which arguably doesn't really do you any good anyway.
No, I agree. I mean, I think talking about opportunity. Actually, I've got some nice little quotes in this episode, which you'll be pleased to hear.
Oh no. Okay.
Yeah. Well, the first one is opportunity is missed by most people because it's dressed in overalls and looks like work. Now that was one by Thomas Edison.
Yeah, that's a very blue collar statement, isn't it?
It is really, but
suggesting that everybody who works is dressed in overalls. I mean, I rarely wear overalls to go to work.
Yeah, well, I do. I wear them at work.
Yeah, well, not about you. Thank you very much.
It fitted with my notes. I was making them personal, but we know about Thomas Edison because he was a good guy, wasn't he? He invented the light bulb and motion picture camera. I don't know. I think we have. He has cropped up before, but he's from Ohio in the US, and it's a bit of a. I'm doffing my cap a little bit to it because we know we got a few listeners in North America. Yeah. So so they gave us Thomas Edison, and we've got to be forever grateful.
We have spoken about Thomas Edison before, because I can remember it's something that happened when he was inventing the light bulb was something I also often talk to clients about when we're trying to work out what the definition of failure is, which is kind of related to what we're talking about, because people would say to him, because he tried to invent the light bulb hundreds of times before he actually succeeded in doing so, and his friends would say to him, Thomas, why don't you just give it up? You've been failing at this 150 times. And he used to say, no, I haven't failed. I've just found 150 ways it doesn't work.
You're exactly right. I mean, that did come up when I was looking at quotes, Thomas Edison quotes. That one was there. But rather than 150, he said, I found 10,000 ways that won't work. So,
there's no need to be pedantic.
I'm not being pedantic. I'm just thinking you're understating his case. I'm standing up for him.
Just on that point, though, I expect you. Have you got another quote to give me?
I've got loads, but go ahead at the moment.
Were you going to give me another specific? Go on. I'll let you go with your quotes for a minute.
No. Well, I wasn't. No more Thomas Edison ones.
Have you got any more of anybody else?
Yeah, I have.
Go on then.
I have. It's from another American person, actually. It's very much an American episode.
Hang on, let me just guess who it is. Is it John Bon Jovi?
It's not Bon Jovi, but he could have made it, couldn't he?
You couldn't even say it, could you?
Hey?
You couldn't even say it.
What, John Bon Jovi?
You did Bon Jovi.
Did I? Well, you can edit that. You can edit that bit out. I'm sure you will.
Okay.
Anyway,
so John Bon Jovi.
It's not, but it's a guy called Eric Roth.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, he's an American screenwriter. He did Forrest Gump and the latest Star Is Born, which is a lovely film, isn't it? Do you like the latest version of that?
Oh, I haven't seen it. It's too popular.
Of course, yeah. Bradley Cooper, Lady Gaga, all that. It's fantastic. Anyway, what he said was, our lives are defined by opportunities, even the ones we miss. And I think, looking back, there is that's exactly right, isn't it? Some of the opportunities come along we take and it shape our future, and some of the ones we miss fail to shape our future. But when you look back, when I look back and think some of the opportunities or situations that have occurred that I haven't reacted to, my life could have been on a completely different course. For example, I remember just as I was just about to start work, I had an offer come through for me to go to journalism college, which was something I always wanted to do. And I sort of ummed and ahed, and in the end I thought, well, I've just got this job now and I can start to earn some money. And I didn't go for it. I mean, in retrospect, journalism is sort of steeped, or it was during the 80s, like steeped in alcoholism and drug abuse. So I would have fitted in perfectly, but I don't think I've lasted very long.
Yeah, you'd have been down the pub every lunchtime and doing about 150 Marlboro a day.
Oh, no, I would, yeah, which was the tradition for journalists. I'm sure that isn't quite the same now, but it would have been a very difficult time for a person like me who has addiction problems, yeah.
Do you, when you think about things like that, opportunities you didn't take, is that also, I mean, it sounds like it isn't, but, sometimes they can also be a source of regret, can't they?
Yeah, I don't think that one particularly was, but yeah, you're right. I mean, like there's this sort of a multiple parallel universe theory where every decision we make, if we take the opposite one, it's something that happens. It's happening there in a different universe. So yeah, sometimes you think, well, what would have happened if I had gone down that route? Things would have changed. There'd been different people I would have met. I wouldn't have ended up getting married because I met my wife at work, and I wouldn't have had the children I've had would have been different or whatever. So yeah, it's no point in regretting all that, is there?
No, there isn't. There isn't any point in regretting it, and in fact, we can expend a lot of emotional energy thinking about the life we didn't live instead of concentrating on the one that we did live. And that's and really that's kind of part of the source of anxiety. Anxiety is really about us imagining a future that hasn't occurred, and all the time we're imagining a future that hasn't occurred, we're not concentrating on the present moment that we're living. So I think so much of our sense of well-being and balance comes from our ability to stay where we are rather than time travel off into different parts of our lives or even imagine parallel universes.
Yeah, I don't know how I drifted off.
In a parallel universe, West Ham might have won the Champions League, but I'm not going to expend too much emotional energy thinking about it.
True, no, because that's unlikely to ever happen. But well, I think what frustrates me sometimes I look at perhaps I'll get more frustrated by the opportunities that other people miss, and I know I really shouldn't. Because
that's a boundary issue.
It is, isn't it, really? Because I get frustrated. For example, I've known a lot of people that walk out of rehab, okay? They've got an opportunity to get their situation sorted out and they walk out early. And I look around. There's some people die actually waiting for that opportunity to come along. I know. I know. In my situation, I only have one chance with this sort of aggressive cancer looming. But yeah, I sort of still find it a little bit frustrating to deal with when people suddenly turn back up at groups and they've walked out early from rehab, and I think, well, why did you do that? And I had to pull myself up on that a little bit, because it's obviously perhaps the time wasn't right for them, or something. I just knew when I went away, it was the best thing that could have ever happened to me, and I can't understand why it's not for other people.
Yeah,
do you understand what I'm saying?
There's a kind of necessity, isn't there, when that sort of happens? I'm going to give you a quote in a minute. There's a necessity when that sort of thing happens to recognise that other people don't see the world the way that you see it. So if someone goes into rehab 1, 2, 3, 4 times and they come out early, you can feel sad for them, you can feel disappointed for them, but you also have to remember that it's not your life. But, there is a point at which you have to recognise where you end and they begin, because otherwise you don't have an effective emotional boundary. And so the quote I'm going to give you is something a wise old therapist said to me soon after I'd qualified. And he said, one of the things you need to remember, Graham, is never to be more ambitious for your clients than they are for themselves.
I like that.
But it's very important. It's very important, certainly for a therapist, because sometimes we can become so invested in the progress of a client that we feel almost more disappointed for them than they feel. Now, I can think of quite a few clients over the years that I've said, where I've said to them, it sometimes feels as if I'm more concerned about your happiness than you are. And whenever you get to the point where that's the truth, sometimes that can be quite a useful conversation to have with someone, but you don't really want that. You don't want that situation to continue for too long. And with the kind of missed opportunities thing, I think it's very important for us to, if we're going to acknowledge the opportunities we missed, we need to balance that out by thinking about the opportunities that we took.
Yeah, I agree. Because when I look back and think, well, I didn't, I missed the opportunity to start my recovery journey early because I didn't embrace AA when I first went along to their meetings, and I didn't, there's several opportunities I could have spoken to my doctor about it, and I didn't. I constantly procrastinated on that. But yeah, when the opportunities did arise, again probably at the right time, I took them, and so I do feel happier about that aspect. But I think it's quite strange, isn't it, how the missed ones and the ones we take both have an equal opportunity to shape the way we have progressed or gone forward.
Yeah, I think we have a tendency to think more about missed opportunities when we hold a particular view of ourselves. So, for instance, if you feel in any way kind of negatively about yourself, if you feel you're not good enough, or you're a bit of a loser, or you've made a bit of a mess of your life, or whatever it is, it becomes much easier for you to notice the opportunities you miss, because that's confirmation bias. It's like, I already have this negative opinion of myself, and therefore I will make sure that I can find all the evidence that proves that I'm right. So if I think I'm a schmuck, I'll go through all of my memories and experiences and pick out all the things that I got wrong, all the failures I had, because that then fits in with this impression that I've got. I'm already looking through a lens of me being no good, so I become very good at finding everything that proves it. Whereas if you're not looking through that lens and you're just thinking about all the evidence as a whole, yes, we can think about things we got wrong, sometimes disastrously, but we're still here, So there must be something that we did. There must be some decisions that we made that were in some way positive for us.
It's a very good point, and it reminds me of my key worker I had when I first went into the recovery hub. And one of the first things she did was to sit me down and go through a list of my successes in life.
There you go.
And I think to trying to wheedle out some of my negative thoughts, because obviously I was in a very negative state at that point. Yeah. And I found it quite cathartic, but I found it quite hard to admit that I'd got things right, which shows probably the state of mind that I was in at that point.
I bet it was a short list.
It went on forever. I'm still writing it now. I have to email her in with my today's successes.
Actually, it reminds me of an exercise I get people to do sometimes. particularly people who are really struggling with their self-esteem, I ask them to make 2 lists. I ask them to make a list of the things they don't like about themselves and a list of the things they do like about themselves. And before I ask them to do it, I know which one's going to be long. But there's a kind of important piece of work in looking at those 2 lists and seeing how they change over time. You can start working with someone and then a year later or 2 years later or 6 months later or whatever it is, you can kind of revisit that list. And when people start to see a greater balance, when they've started to think about themselves more reasonably, more rationally, that realization that actually they're not quite as bad as they thought they were gives it its own momentum. So as soon as you start thinking about that, you start to feel, well, you know what it's like, you start to feel better about yourself, and it makes it easier for you to be kind to yourself. And the kinder you are to yourself, the more you recognize your own kind of goodness.
Fair point. Very good. I'm gonna just. There's one last quote I want to put to throw out here. Okay, which is very, very relevant to recovery, I think. Although it's not
John Bon Jovi.
No, it's not. It's from Steve McConnell.
Oh.
Now he's an author. He's an American, and again another American. He's an American software author.
I said that sounds interesting.
Okay, well you be the judge of it after I finish this quote. But anyway. In software, consultants sometimes tell you to buy into certain software development methods to the exclusion of other methods. That's unfortunate, because if you buy into any single methodology, can you say that one? Methodology. If you buy into that methodology 100%, you'll see the whole world in terms of that. In some instances, you'll miss opportunities to use other methods better suited to your current problem. Which I think is very relevant to recovery, as far as whether we should go down the fellowship routes or the therapy routes or the peer support groups or the smart recovery, or a mixture of them. So I thought it's quite even though it wasn't to do with recovery, I think it fits in quite nicely. Even though I couldn't say that word. That's
very good, actually, because not only does it fit with what we've just been talking about, because it's the idea of having a myopic view of the world. You only look at one part of it, which is what I was saying. If we only take that same approach with ourselves, we can't see ourselves clearly if we only think of ourselves in one dimension. And it reminds me of another quote that I like to use with people, which is about the importance of looking holistically at a person, or even holistically using different methods of psychotherapy or therapy, which is, if the only tool you have is a hammer, then every problem is a nail.
Yeah, I like that. Yeah.
So I've come out with a couple of quotes of my own today.
Off the top of your head as well, which is quite impressive. For you.
Have you finished your notes now?
Pretty much.
I'm going to kind of wrap up this conversation with something that this is a quote from Dr. McGavin, who was he's a friend of my mother's, my late mother's. He's my GP, actually. Well, he might have retired now, but he's
okay.
He said to me, and I think it was probably soon after my mum had died, and the reason this is relevant is because we're talking about missed opportunities, and this is about the importance of recognising the value of taking an opportunity whenever it is, however late it is, whether you feel like you should have gone into recovery 10 years ago or 15 years ago or whatever. He said to me, Graham, so many people come into my room and they spend their whole lives asleep and then they die. And that is something that has always stuck with me. He was reminding me of the importance of waking up to yourself. It doesn't matter when it is, doesn't matter how late it is, doesn't matter when it comes. If you are fortunate enough to be able to get to the point where you really have a sense of yourself and what needs to be done, that is of immense value, because not everybody ever gets there.
True. I like that. Well, I've learned something.
That's good.
Apart from what else I've learned this week. What have you learned this week?
Oh, well, I've learned that it's possible to make really, really nice donuts in about 10 minutes.
Excellent. Well, that's a skill. I'll assume some of those will be flying my way fairly soon then.
Well, I can't at the moment because we're in lockdown.
Oh, yeah, true.
I'll make you some after lockdown. I'll make you some in December.
Okay. Well, it'd be like we could have a post-lockdown party.
Yeah, good idea, yeah. Pre-Christmas, post-lockdown.
Yeah, I don't expect we'd be allowed out, but there we go. We'll always dream.
Yeah, you never know. Yeah, go on. What have you learnt then?
Well, it wasn't actually this week, but I'm sticking with the American theme at the moment.
Right, you're loving America, aren't you, today? You've got a Stars
I am.
T-shirt on.
I am. It just reminded me of we had a girl from Seattle come onto one of the Aspire to Be Zoom meetings recently.
Yeah.
Which she'd just come out of rehab. It'd be really nice if she got back in touch, actually. So if she's listening, let us know how you've been getting on. Because she come from Seattle, and I was slightly embarrassed because all I knew about Seattle was that Jimi Hendrix has his grave is there, and that Fraser Crane, which has his apartment in Seattle. Yeah. And she told me, she said, what the thing is with Fraser, at the start, with the opening credits, you get this skyline drawn out at the start of the program, and she said that's the wrong skyline. It's not Seattle, and I would have never have known that if I hadn't spoken to someone with that element of knowledge.
Now do you know what? Of all the things that you've talked about that you've learned this week, most of them are dull as ditch water, but that one is definitely worth knowing.
It's right up there, isn't it? I'm happy with it.
That is top quality knowledge. That is.
It is, and you couldn't look that. I doubt if you could look that up in a book. It's something that comes straight from the horse's mouth. There,
I feel
an American girl from Seattle.
I feel enriched is the word I'm looking for today. Enriched.
Good.
I'm going to go out with a spring in my step in a minute.
Okay, well, we'll bring it back down again a little bit then. Talk about our guilty musical pleasures.
No, I haven't got one.
You haven't got one?
No, what I've been doing the last few weeks, I've been riffing off yours. So whatever you tell me, it usually inspires something in my own head. And I think, well, actually, I did. A couple of weeks ago we had Cliff Richard. Last week we had Halloween hits. So go on, what you got?
I did. I've got Da 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 by Trio.
Right, that's going to be very difficult because I really, really seriously hated that track. Oh my God, that is such a bad. I'll tell you, that sparked something in me, but I'm not going to be able to claim this as a guilty pleasure because I didn't particularly like the song. But do you remember "Oh Superman" by Laurie Anderson?
I do, yeah. Actually, right. I've got that on 45.
Yeah, that's the sort of nonsensical artistic bullshit you'd have liked, but I didn't like that at all. But the album from which that single came, some of the tracks on that are fantastic. So, they're a bit more tuneful. You know what I'm like with. I like a tune, don't I?
I know you like a melody, but I think, I'd forgotten about "Oh Superman." I wouldn't see that as a guilty pleasure. I think it stands up in its own right.
Yeah, well, you would, because...
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. Anyway.
I'll tell you what I did like. I like those... do you remember the Biscuits trio? They were kind of chocolate with a little kind of caramelly bit.
Yeah, I do. Yeah, I do remember those, yeah.
They were nice because they had a nice kind of chunky bit of caramel. It wasn't soft caramel, it was harder. I like those. In a red wrapper with yellow writing, as I recall.
Yeah, well, I just remember that track being... it used to be constantly played down at the Royal George, which was looking back, the start of one of my problems, really spending way too much time in the Royal George. And I remember Sean Malloy singing that to Da Da Da. Yeah, clothes peg, as he said.
And gone down the riser.
His CB handle at that time was clothes peg. So everyone called him clothes peg, and he used to love it. He used to put it on every time we went in there. He would put it on, and we'd all have a little sing along.
The only two tracks I remember from the two tracks that I for me are synonymous with the Albion are one, Eye of the Tiger, which was playing in there all the time one year when we came back from Reading, and the other one was the Joker, Steve Miller, which I think Yem used to put on constantly.
Yeah, but I was talking about the Royal George, not the Albion. I don't know why you said.
I meant the Royal George. Those two songs are the ones that remind me of the Royal George.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so we've sorted that out, haven't we?
Yeah, don't try and catch me out just because I got my pub names wrong. I know you know I can name any village in Kent and you'd be able to tell me what the pubs were in it.
I think the thing with the Royal George, it's obviously no longer a pub, but it's actually a sort of halfway house for those people that have come out of prison. And we have people coming into groups that live there because they're coming out and they've still got addiction problems.
Yeah, there's an synchronicity about it, really, isn't there?
There is, isn't there? Yeah.
Anyway, listen, I've got to go because I've got a client now. So I'll catch you later.
Take it easy.
See you later.
Bye.
Bye.
Sideways was created by Graham Landy and Martin Pankhurst. If you want to read more about our work, visit grahamlandywellbeing.co.uk/sideways-podcast. You can follow us on Twitter, and you can find us on Facebook at Sideways Podcast, or you can email us to let us know what you think of the show and with anything else that you'd like to ask us. And finally, we'd like to thank you for listening and ask that if you've enjoyed what you've heard, that you spread the word. And we'll see you next week.
And I won't remember you. It's no use you calling my name. I won't remember you, but I'll finish this song just the same. Just give me one day with paper and pen, and I'll waste it writing about you again. Well, I finally drained the coffee, and this moon won't see me sleep. The night's wearing thin, but I'm still looking in for a moment I might keep. And I won't remember you. It's no use you calling my name. I won't remember you. I won't be a moth to your flame. I won't remember you. It's no use you calling my name. I won't remember you, but I'll finish this song just the same.